You have 24 hours a day. Organize your day. Work hard. I'm here to talk about success.
Welcome to Electric Theory.
You've arrived at your destination.
This is Electric Theory, the podcast where people power performance and innovation. I'm Joshua from Bolt Human Capital, and after years of helping service-driven businesses transform from the inside out, I've learned one thing: culture isn't soft. It's a system. Each week, we spark bold conversations that challenge outdated thinking, reduce costly turnover, and explore how technology, leadership intersect to unlock human potential. If you lead with people, this is your playbook. Let's plug in. The Electric Theory is a public research engine behind Bolt Human Capital. We record virtually with leaders across the hospitality and service industry. Audio quality varies by guest. The conversation never does. Guests appear as independent voices. Their views do not represent their employers or affiliated organizations. Stay electric. Welcome back to Electric Theory. Today, we have a special guest. Not only is he a football fan as myself, but he is the corporate director of talent and culture at PCH Hotels and Resorts. Mike Stover is his name, and his game is people. He's a people strategist at the heart of hospitality. As a corporate director of talent and culture at PCH Hotels Resorts, he's reimagining how luxury resorts attract, grow, and retain talent. Not just to fill roles, but to build careers. With 25 plus years in HR and workforce development, Mike's work focuses on turning frontline hospitality roles into stepping stones for long-term advancement. Since joining PCH in 2023, he's led a culture shift rooted in training, engagement, and purpose, helping PCH earn recognition as one of Alabama's best companies to work for. Welcome, Mike.
Happy to be here. Thanks, Joshua.
Yeah, you said it best. You said it first. Hospitality is more than service. It's soul. Where did that philosophy come from, and how has it shaped your approach to talent?
The company tagline is hospitality with heart and soul, and we talk a lot about, because our internal version of that is care for people first. So it really is about making sure we take care of our people, because if you take great care of your people, they'll take great care of our guests. So it's that self-fulfilling hospitality cycle. Hire great people, treat them well, they'll treat your guests well, the company does well. So it really is just all rooted in our people.
Was choosing to work at PCH, was there like some value alignment or philosophy alignment that kind of played a role in wanting to join that organization?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, years ago, I left college without finishing my degree, just financial and life circumstances. And when I went back to school to finish my degree, I had worked in hospitality with a different company in my undergrad years and got a job with a PCH resort and really learned then what the company was all about. So fast forward a few years. At that time, it was just a part-time job to make ends meet. And fast forward, the job that I have now was posted a couple of years ago, and I was ready for a change from what I was doing. And, the job aligned with my experience, but also, to your point, the philosophy of the company aligned with my personal philosophy and how you're supposed to treat people. So I asked a lot of questions in the interview process. If I was going to be the guy carrying the culture flag, so to speak, with it in my title, I wanted to make sure that it really existed and that it wasn't just something painted on a wall that really didn't exist in the hallways of the hotels and among the associates or employees. Yeah, it's a total value alignment, and happy to be in the job I'm in. I think it's a perfect fit for me and what I like to do, and the things that really light my fire every day when you go to work is getting to build our people.
Building people is important. You mentioned you didn't want values just on a wall. How do you ensure that they live authentically within PCH?
It started with my interview time with our president. He's the guy at the top of the food chain. You want to make sure that he's also, these core values that our company has, our 7 core values, really were sort of his creation. It's always existed, I think, in the company, but really putting it down, creating a philosophy and building it into all of our training courses for our managers and leaders, it really is something that we try to permeate throughout the everyday, whether it's in a daily stand-up in our hotels, whether it's in our leadership classes or whatever the case may be. So I think for me, it was really just asking a lot of questions to make sure that it did align, that it would really fit with the kind of work I wanted to do, the kind of work that I thought would be impactful to people and impactful to the company. And it really has been a great alignment of everything that I hoped for on day one, showing up for the job has certainly come true.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. When you talk about where it shows up in one-on-ones or shows up in everyday tasks, for those leaders who may not understand the importance of the values aligning with everyday operations, could you maybe give an example of why it's important, or shed some light on why it may be important, not only for you all, but for other leaders that may be listening?
The core values are blended. There's the cornerstones are trust, respect, and integrity, which, if your teams all operate in that realm with trusting each other, respecting, and having integrity. But then the operational ones that really impact your business are accountability, collaboration, innovation, and execution. Those are the ones that really move your needles, that make you more profitable, that grow your people and make everybody. We're a for-profit business, right? This isn't charity. Right. So those are the ones that really help us continue to push the company forward, to grow, to try to think of new ways to innovate in our business and execute on those ideas. So it's not just fluff. It's about growing your people, but it's about growing the company at the end of the day. So if those are all in alignment, at the end of the day, profitability, higher return back to our owners at the end of the day, those are all the things that you really want in a business.
You can't have one without the other, right? And sometimes people who focus on culture are not demoralized, but sometimes, it's just a bunch of woo, or that's not really as important as profits, and we need to ensure their performance is high, and retention doesn't matter if we're not hitting our quota. What do you kind of say to those naysayers as it relates to ensuring that there's like a balance between your people and profitability?
I think it's just when we interview people, when we set goals, when we do performance reviews, all of this operational things you have to do, if you find the people that fit culturally, that will embody what you're trying to do as a company culture, but also making sure that there are a lot of scorecards. There's a lot of ways we measure our business, and they are aligned with what we expect out of our leaders from a culture standpoint, but highly operationally driven. So it is a business. It's not just butterflies and rainbows everywhere. It's a hard, stressful business, but if you are rooted in how you treat people internally and externally, how you train them, how you grow them, that sort of thing, with the goal in mind of a high performing organization, they can easily align. It could be a naysayer to not see, like, tactically, if they align, your business will thrive. Right. But it's not all about, it's not all about operational numbers every day. It's not so far one direction that you forget about your people. It's also not so far leaning toward loving each other and all that sort of stuff that you forget about the operational numbers. There's a certain balance there too. You can't be so profit driven at the bottom number that you fail to reward and recognize your people in some way, whether it be a party to celebrate an award, or spending a little money here and there to really let your people let loose and have fun once in a while. So there's certainly a balance there. You can't go all the way toward every penny as profitability. But as I mentioned, you can't spend all your time on pizza parties either.
Talent and culture can feel like buzzwords.
Talent is people, right? It's defining exactly what we're looking for in any new hire. We have to have we try to have a lot of structure around what exactly are we looking for before we ever even start the search. So finding the right people in the right experience levels, the right roles. And then the culture piece, as we've talked about, it's really just making sure that you're identifying ways to grow people. Everybody needs a little bit of a different growth plan. How you customize that for each individual associate, from the bottom to the top. Not everybody wants to be a general manager of a hotel. Some people just want a nice, stable place to work where they like the people they work with and they can provide for their family and they want to go home. They're not looking for a growth plan. They need those people just like we need people who are high growth oriented. So when you say talent and culture, it's a blending of highly talented, highly capable people in whatever role they're in, and then the culture that makes them want to stay there, that makes our retention higher than a lot of other companies in our industry, that general managers want to stick around a property for a lot longer than they might have in the past, or people are patient in their growth because they like the company, they like how we treat them, they like where they work. They're not just going to necessarily jump for a slight promotion someplace else because they see the inherent value of really enjoying the people you work with is worth sticking around a little longer. So there's people that are ready to be a general manager, ready to be a senior leader, who are waiting in line because they like the company they work with, and we're proud of that.
What shifts are you seeing in today's hospitality people, aka talent, wants from their employer?
It's the same generational shifts I think you're seeing in a lot of other industries too. The expectations of the Gen Zs that are arriving into the workforce are very different than Gen X or boomers or whatever. So it's communication style, it's the expectations. So we're a 24/7, 365 business. Most of our jobs are not remote or hybrid, right? So there's a lot of younger talent who are looking for a different work style than maybe the generations before them are just used to. And most generations who are not Gen X and older, remote was never a thing. So when you see a 23-year-old who just got out of college, they're looking for different expectations. So it's really just figuring out what does the next wave of our industry look like in terms of work styles and balance and that sort of thing. Communication styles, multi-generational communication environments are challenging. You have some people who want to communicate a certain way and it's different than others. So how do we train and how do we blend those teams together? That's really difficult because some of our teams, the span of ages in a group maybe 16 to 76.
Wow.
That's a lot. There's a lot of difference in those generations and how they work and how they communicate together. So we have to be cognizant of that as leaders and help make sure that we do what we can to make all those generations blend well and still have the same end goal in mind.
Which leads me to my next question is, have you ever had to let a culture or a property?
I wouldn't say we've had to reset a property necessarily, but we certainly see specific departments or teams that need a little bit of attention in terms of maybe opening up some lines of communication to figure out what root causes of maybe issues are within the team. We survey our associates every year, sometimes more than that. So we have a lot of different communication channels to try to get a pulse on what's going on. So it's just asking good questions, having open dialogue, figure out what the root of the problem is. I was just in a meeting earlier today, and one of our departments scored a little lower than we anticipated on their survey, and the root cause was the chairs in the department were old, and they were worn out. They wanted new chairs.
Yeah.
That's just a question that somebody needed to ask, and when they finally asked it, they're like, we didn't know. We'll buy you new chairs, right? And sometimes it's more complicated and nuanced. And that's just a funny example of like the solution was really easy when the question finally got asked. Others are not that easy, but it's really about identifying and keeping your ear to the ground, making sure managers are asking good questions and really do have a pulse on who they're working with and their teams, because then you can pretty easily see it coming and try to proactively anticipate a communication breakdown, or maybe it's something as easy as we don't like the lunches in the lunchroom anymore. Then let's change the menu. So sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not.
People are complex, but one thing that we all can agree on is we just like feeling heard and we like feeling seen. And sometimes that's easier said than done, but sometimes it's just as simple as just listening to feedback, the open feedback. Speaking and listening to open feedback, could you help us understand how to guide leaders or to help leaders with a buy-in when it comes to new people strategies that you may want to present to a team?
I think it's just about helping craft a vision of what we're going toward. Maybe it's an operational decision. Maybe it's a culture shift decision. We are pretty rooted in our core values and our company culture. So I think all of our leaders see it. We do hire new leaders frequently. So it's about getting them ingrained in what our vision is, starting in the interview process, but certainly in onboarding and in the first few months of the job of here's the company culture, here's how we expect to communicate. It's really just about ingraining and really making sure people understand what does trust look like in the day-to-day? What does respect and integrity look like in a busy, highly stressful environment like hospitality? What does that look like in real life? Like, how do you exercise accountability and those sort of things? So we talk about those in our leadership classes and really just try to use that same language throughout our performance planning process and our management communications from the top down to really just help people see trust is a word, but unless you really know how to embody that in your day-to-day management style, it can get lost. So it's really just giving specific examples of how to demonstrate all of our core values in the day-to-day.
Got it. Got it. I couldn't leave this conversation without touching on AI. You're someone who's not only have experience in academia, but within the operations and hospitality space. How do you see AI and automation or tech playing a role in hospitality training and recruitment in the next 3 to 5 years?
Recruitment, I think it's going to continue to evolve. I see it in my platforms I use, whether it be LinkedIn, Indeed, things like that we use for talent sourcing, utilizing that for efficiency, for candidate outreach and communication and those sort of things that just kind of make you more efficient and effective. It's going to be interesting to see how our company balances the high touch, in-person nature of what Southern hospitality, all of our properties are in Alabama. It's a highly Southern hospitality, to use the air quotes there, environment. So I don't see us going toward robotic check-ins and things where you lose the human touch. But I think there certainly is a place for how do we do some things that can be automated better using AI, using some different tools that will come along in the industry. So I think from the operational perspective, we'll start seeing it through our Marriott partnerships and through just other technology platforms that come on board. And then we have to figure out how to keep the same people orientation we already have while figuring out that balance of what does automation and AI mean in just how we do different things with regard to HR and how we manage our people. So we do just a couple of examples. They're not really automation necessarily, but we do some different digital outreach tools, text-based platforms and things like that, where we're trying to get two-way communication going with a lot of our frontline associates who don't have a desk. They don't use a computer every day, but how do you still keep two-way communication going with those guys? So just using tools like that to make sure that we're not losing touch with our people wherever they may be. As long as they can get a text message or something like that, we can communicate with them. But it's going to be interesting to see because it's certainly shifting fast, the AI environment.
For sure, for sure. And do you think that is there an opportunity for upskilling or training employees or team members as it relates to, I guess, optimizing, if you will, like the front desk, right? And what I mean by that is instead of replacing an employee or a team member with a robot for check-in, is there a way to maybe create so much value in a employee at the front desk that there's no way for a robot to ever take their job?
I just think the culture of our geography and our company it's going to be a while before we would feel comfortable with not having a human to reach out and shake their human hand front desk when they arrive. You're off. You don't even interact with a human, right? So that's pretty far off from us just based on our company values and our company culture. But I just think that AI is certainly moving quickly, but that genuine, I can look you in the eye, answer your question, welcome you to the property, show you where you need to go. A lot of our hotels are large and spread out. What we hope our people do is instead of point you, walk 100 yards and take a lift, walk them there. But it doesn't feel the same as having a conversation about why are you in town? What brings you here? Have you ever been here before? And that 13 seconds it took you to walk and show that person where they're going, that human touch. I just think that if hospitality starts going too far that direction, it's a transaction at the end of the day, but it just becomes more cold and transactional. And that's, maybe I'm retired by then. I hope so.
That's it. Sounds like Nick Saban to me. Where Nick Saban's, hold on, this is too much transactions going on right here. Like I want to be able to build players. I want to be able to build this talent, and he saw this transition coming. That's my theory as to why he decided to leave Alabama when he did.
He said that. He's like, this isn't the environment I want to coach in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like the heart of hospitality, and just the ethos is just service, right? Human to human service, and that anticipation. Maybe AI can do that to a degree by having a holistic viewpoint of who you are just based on your impressions on digital platforms. But even then, I feel like that is still not going to be the same, and it's not going to have that authentic approach. What do you say to leaders who may feel how we feel about human connection, but aren't able to really get their viewpoint across to the newer generations, right? If you think about COVID, that kind of set things backwards from my perspective as it relates to customer service and anticipating what a customer may need or a guest may need. What do you say to those leaders who are trying to raise up the next generation in a way where they still value people?
Yeah, I've actually got a couple kids in that wave right now. My daughter, when she graduated from college last year, her goal was to have a remote job from the beginning. And I tried to tell her, I'm like, I think you're going to miss out on a whole part of that becoming an adult if you're just sitting in your apartment working through a screen digitally the entire time. Even if you go to an office and that's still largely what you're doing, but there are other people around you, you make friends, you build relationships, you laugh. It's that human connection piece. If it's all we're just going to sit in our respective homes and look at screens all day, that's just the human disconnect there. That's problematic for me. Maybe I'm a little old school in that. I feel like I'm fairly progressive, but I just feel like that you asked the question about how do you communicate that to the next generation. It's really just, I think you have to build a relationship with them and have a conversation about how you are going to grow as an adult. When you actually get in the world is when it really starts picking up speed. When you're around everybody your own age for 4 years, there's some evolution. Then when you get dumped into an environment where everybody's a little bit different from different places and different ages, that's really when your development speeds up. And I think we just have to continue to try to help our newly workforce arriving professionals that it's still very important to understand the human dynamic and not rely on all digital tools for everything you want to do.
So what you're saying is just basically just trying to develop a relationship with them first so that you maybe form that trust. And then that's the initial, at arm's reach to be able to maybe say, hey, now that we have this trust, let's grab coffee or let's have a team's meeting to talk about the importance of human connection.
Yeah, that's the only thing that comes to mind right now is just showing an interest in somebody, getting to know them, finding commonality, building relationship and rapport, and just helping them understand the importance of long term. We all know that there's a big part of life is about who you've met, who you know, what you learned from them. So just that connectivity as person to person, it's just not the same if you never actually interact with people. I think you just have to be out in the world interacting with people.
Yeah, no, I think it's not old school at all. I'm in my early 30s, and it's something that I saw as a huge opportunity. And I thought, wow, people are the number one currency, and somehow we're losing sight of that. And we think that if I could just sit in front of my phone or create this digital mastermind of a platform and create TikTok videos all day, that it will be relevant. And I think that's something that can shift. But for some reason, I believe it is going to start at work and have jobs where they may not view it as something that's like, hey, this may not be my career because I want to have this platform or I started this social media, you name it, right? I believe that organizations like you all, which are doing such a great job, have such a huge influence on how people interact with people. And I think that organizations are going to be the ones who kind of reset culture as it relates to interacting with people and socializing and networking with people. Is there any tips you would give on how to interact with people or network with people for those who maybe not be looking to shift or switch careers and may not have just the experience, right? We have some young listeners too out there who just may not really know how to go network or communicate with people. Any tips that may come to mind?
Yeah, this goes back to when I was working at a university with students a lot. This is a pretty common question of where do I start? And I think most young professionals overestimate the resistance they might get by just asking somebody to connect, or can I pick your brain? Ask if you've got an older professional, maybe it's a family member, an extended family member, something like that. Just say, can I pick your brain about careers? People love to tell you, they give advice. They want to pass it down. If somebody asks me, hey, can we have a quick call, or do you have time for coffee in the next month or something like that? Oftentimes you're going to get a yes. And if you get a no, usually it's with a reason like I'm traveling, I don't have time, maybe another time. But it's awkward feeling when you first do it, but reaching out to somebody doesn't have to be the CEO of a company. Ask somebody who's just a couple years ahead of you. If you're 22, 23, ask the 25 or 26-year-old who's been working somewhere for 2 or 3 years, who's already navigating that. So you don't have to be you have to think you're going to go ask some chief executive officer somewhere. Maybe just ask somebody who's just a step above you, hey, I've got some ideas about my career path or questions, or I'm stumped. Can we grab coffee? Can we go to happy hour? Can we go for a run? Whatever the case may be, whatever you like, and just find people to connect with and sit down and talk in person. And if you can't do that because it's somebody you would like to talk to who's not in your local area, do a Zoom or a FaceTime or something where you can actually see facial interactions. So look at other people and talk to them. I think that's just a skill we're starting to lose a little bit, is looking at people and having a conversation.
It's ironic because I think that's what's going to be the luxury, predicting that being a luxury in the next 5 to 10 years, where you can actually look and have a conversation with someone who's insightful. What's a people-related challenge you once struggled with but now feel confident navigating?
I think we just talked about it, honestly. I remember being in those shoes I was a shy kid, right?
Yeah.
I didn't really I call myself an ambivert now. I think in my true core, I'm still an introvert, but just being able to come out of your shell and go to a networking event and talk to somebody who you've never met before and have a conversation. It takes practice, but once you realize it's really not that difficult, just put yourself out there and go do it. And don't go to a goal and go to an event and say, I'm going to meet 2 people. And when I meet 2 people, I'm leaving. Just dip your toe in the water and start getting comfortable with the temperature. And it does get easier over time. But I think that's the thing that just took me a while to get comfortable doing, is just talking to strangers. If you want to be digital first, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there about how to talk to a stranger in a professional context. There's a great one little nugget you can go find. It's a TED Talk by Kio Stark, Kiostark. She talks about the science of going to talk to strangers and finding commonality and things like that, and just the reward that comes into that. So we use it in one of our classes where she talks about going out, and particularly for hospitality people, finding that random person walking through the hall of your hotel and just having a conversation with them that's more than how's the weather. You might find some funny things about some people. It's pretty interesting. So if you want to go look that one up, it's Kio Stark on TED Talks. Because
those humble, small beginnings really do birth, I think, influence, right? And now you can lead people on how to get there. Is there, I know you just gave us that nugget, we appreciate that, but is there any quote or mantra that shapes your approach to leadership or team building?
I love quotes. I think they all kind of come back to the same general theme of just caring for each other. Whether it's a Maya Angelou quote, or one of the ones that I've used several times is, don't try to be interesting, be interested. So if you have a genuine curiosity about other people and like to talk to people and learn about them, if you go into conversations not trying to impress people, but just trying to connect and learn about people, you'll always come out on top. Walking into any situation, maybe besides a job interview, when you really are trying to impress somebody. But I think all human connection just comes from being interested in each other. So if you can just ask good questions, open-ended questions, get to know people, let them get to know you, take off your armor a little bit once in a while. I think that's the best advice I could give without giving a direct quote. I think that's probably my best advice, is just go out into the world and be interested in learning about other people.
No, I think that's great. That's great feedback, great advice. I think we all can learn to be more interested in people than trying to be interesting in a world where you, like I said, going back to social media, in a world where you're just trying to show everybody your highlights. Why don't you show interest in other people's highlights?
I was going to say that, actually. That's the exact point, I think, is trying to become the most followed person on whatever platform, and trying to always be the performer, whether it's a TikTok video or trying to show people how great your life is on Instagram and that sort of thing. Just be genuine. More importantly, to be interested in other people. That's always trying to be something you might not quite be or be on. That's exhausting.
It is.
Just be yourself.
It is.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Be yourself. And with that, we will end today's podcast. Mike, this has been exciting, fun, and poised at the same time. And there's only one person that can do it. It is Mike Stouffer, who can be exciting, poised.
Sounds good. I appreciate it today, Josh. It was fun.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate
See
it.
ya.
Take
Okay.
care.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning into Electric Theory, where we believe people aren't just a part of the business, they are the business. If today's episode sparked an idea, helped you shift perspective, or gave you something to act on, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who leads with people. I'm Joshua from Bohemian Capital, and remember, culture isn't soft, it's a system. Until next time, stay electric.